Lewis Hamilton was the fastest driver on track and still got beaten by his own teammate. Same Ferrari, same upgrades, same moment, but when it mattered most, Leclerc found something Hamilton couldn't. Third place for Leclerc, sixth for Hamilton, over a 10.5 gap in the same car. That doesn't make sense, and it gets worse. Hamilton himself admitted he has no idea why. A 7-time world champion completely lost for answers. This isn't just a bad lap, it's something deeper. Something inside Ferrari that only one driver can unlock. And Miami just exposed it. It started like complete control. In the first phase of qualifying, Hamilton looked untouchable. Fastest on track, confident, smooth, completely in sync with the car. Everything suggested this was his moment. Everything suggested he finally had the Ferrari exactly where he needed it. And then it slipped away. As the session moved forward, as the pressure increased, as the track conditions began to change, Hamilton didn't follow that evolution. Leclerc did. That's the turning point. Because qualifying is not about being fast once. It's about getting faster every time you go out. Building lap after lap, adjusting, refining, getting closer to the absolute limit with each attempt. Leclerc kept climbing. Hamilton didn't. And the gap appeared exactly there. Not at the beginning. At the end. When it mattered most. Now here's why that's so important. Because nothing fundamental changed in the car between those runs. Same setup, same upgrades, same track, but the window shifted. Tires cooled slightly, grip changed, balance became more sensitive, and suddenly the Ferrari demanded something different from the driver. Leclerc adapted instantly. Hamilton didn't. That's the difference. Think of it like trying to balance on a moving surface. At first, it's stable, easy to control. But as it starts shifting, only the person who reacts faster stays upright. The other loses balance. And in Formula One, that loss of balance shows up in lap time. Now connect that to what Ferrari brought to Miami. This wasn't a normal update. This was one of the largest upgrade packages of the season. Multiple changes, multiple variables, all interacting at the same time. Which means one thing. The car became more powerful, but also more sensitive, more precise, less forgiving. And that's exactly the kind of car that creates gaps between teammates. Because when everything has to be perfect, even the smallest difference in driving style becomes amplified. Leclerc thrives in that environment. He's aggressive with inputs, confident on the edge, willing to let the car move beneath him. He doesn't wait for stability. He creates it. Hamilton approaches things differently. He builds confidence first. He needs the rear of the car to feel predictable. He needs that connection before he pushes to the absolute limit. And right now, that connection isn't fully there. So when the track changes, when the tires behave differently, when the balance shifts even slightly, Leclerc adjusts. Hamilton hesitates. And that hesitation, even if it's just a fraction of a second, is the entire gap. But here's where it becomes even more revealing. Hamilton didn't blame traffic. He didn't blame strategy. He didn't blame bad luck. He said something much more important. He said he doesn't understand why the car isn't performing the way he expected. That's not frustration. That's confusion. And confusion at that level is dangerous. Because if you don't understand the car, you can't predict it. And if you can't predict it, you can't trust it. And if you can't trust it, you can't extract everything from it. That's the chain reaction we're seeing. Now contrast that with Leclerc. His lap in the final session wasn't just fast. It was controlled, measured, confident, which means he doesn't just drive the car. He understands it. And that's why Miami reveals something bigger than just a qualifying result. It reveals that Ferrari has unlocked performance, but only in a very specific way. A way that currently fits one driver perfectly and leaves the others searching for answers. But this is where the situation stops being about adaptation and starts becoming a real problem for Ferrari. Because once a car begins to favor one driving style so clearly, the team is forced into a decision. Not publicly, not immediately, but internally, it changes everything. Now think about what Miami just proved. Leclerc didn't just beat Hamilton. He defined the limit of the car. He showed what the Ferrari is capable of when everything is executed perfectly, when the tires are in the right window, when the balance is exactly where it needs to be. That performance becomes a reference, the direction, the version of the car Ferrari will trust moving forward. But here's the risk. That version may not work for Hamilton. Because Formula One cars are not neutral machines. They evolve. Every upgrade, every adjustment, every small change pushes the car in a specific direction. And when one driver is consistently extracting more performance, that direction becomes very clear. You follow what works. You build around it. And slowly, without saying it out loud, the car starts to belong more to one driver than the other. That's how internal gaps grow. Not suddenly, gradually, race after race, session after session. Now, add another layer to this. Ferrari didn't just bring upgrades. They brought complexity, more variables, more sensitivity, more dependence on precision. And that kind of car doesn't forgive hesitation. It doesn't reward caution. It demands commitment. Leclerc gives it that. Hamilton, right now, doesn't fully trust enough to do the same. And that's not a criticism. That's a mismatch. Because when a driver doesn't feel that connection, every corner becomes a question. Brake here or slightly earlier. Turn in now or wait a fraction longer. Apply throttle or hold it for just a moment. Those tiny doubts cost time. Not a lot, but enough. Enough to turn a potential front row into sixth place. Enough to create a gap that shouldn't exist in identical cars. And here's where the pressure builds even more. Because this isn't happening in isolation. Other teams are watching. Mercedes is already ahead in qualifying. Red Bull is closing the gap. McLaren is consistent, which means Ferrari cannot afford internal imbalance. They need both drivers operating at the same level. They need maximum points, maximum pressure on their rivals. But right now, they don't have that. They have one driver extracting the full potential, and another still trying to understand it. And this is where Miami changes from a single result into a warning. Because if Ferrari continues down this path, the gap doesn't just remain. It becomes permanent. Not because Hamilton loses speed, but because the car keeps evolving in a direction that moves further away from him. And once that happens, recovering that connection becomes incredibly difficult. But here's the twist that keeps this story open. Ferrari still believes their real strength is not qualifying. It's the race, long runs, tire management, consistency over time. That could change everything. Because race pace gives Hamilton something different. More laps, more time to adapt, more opportunity to understand the car. But even that depends on one thing, confidence. Because without confidence, even the strongest race pace can't be fully used. And right now, that's the missing piece. So everything leads to one unavoidable conclusion. Hamilton can't match Leclerc, not because of speed, but because this Ferrari demands something very specific. A precise way of driving. A precise way of feeling the car. A precise way of trusting it at the limit. Leclerc has that connection. Hamilton is still building it. And until that connection is complete, this gap will keep appearing again and again, exactly when it matters most. And this is where everything quietly shifts from a performance gap into a long-term risk. Because once a driver loses that natural connection with the car, the problem doesn't stay in qualifying. It follows him into the race. Into every lap, into every decision that has to be made at speed. Now imagine the start. Leclerc lines up near the front, confident, clear, fully aware of what the car will do when the lights go out. Hamilton starts further back. Different air, more traffic, more variables, and most importantly, more uncertainty. Because when you don't fully trust the car, you don't attack the same way. You hesitate, just slightly, brake a fraction earlier, wait a moment longer before committing. And in Formula One, that fraction is everything. Now connect that to race strategy. Ferrari believes their strength is in long runs, in tire management, in consistency over time. That should help Hamilton. It should give him space to recover, to understand the car over multiple laps instead of one. But here's the problem. Race pace only matters if you can access it. If you can push the tires when needed. If you can trust the balance when the fuel drops, when the track evolves, when the pressure builds. And right now, that trust is not fully there. So even if the potential exists, it's not guaranteed. And that's what makes this situation dangerous for Ferrari. Because they don't just need a fast car. They need a predictable one. A car that both drivers can use at the same level, under the same conditions. And Miami proved they don't have that. They have performance, but it's selective, conditional, dependent on how the car is driven. Now think about what happens over the next races. If Leclerc keeps extracting more, the team naturally leans in his direction. More data from his side. More setup choices based on his feedback. More development aligned with what works for him. And slowly, the car evolves further away from Hamilton. Not intentionally, but inevitably. That's how Formula One works. You follow performance. And performance right now is coming from one side of the garage. Now here's the part that connects everything. Hamilton is not lacking speed. Miami proved that. He was the fastest at one point. He showed the car can work for him. But he can't hold that performance as the conditions change, as the window narrows, as the car demands more precision. And that's the difference between being fast and being consistently fast. Leclerc has that consistency. Hamilton is still searching for it. And in a season where every tenth matters, where every position changes the championship fight, that difference becomes decisive. So this is the real answer Miami revealed. Hamilton can't match Leclerc, not because he lost his ability, but because Ferrari has built a car that only rewards one very specific approach. A car that becomes better the more aggressively you trust it. A car that punishes hesitation. A car that demands absolute connection at the limit. Leclerc has that connection. Right now, Hamilton doesn't. And until that changes, the result won't change either. Because in Formula One, the biggest gaps are not created by speed. They're created by understanding. And at this moment, one driver understands the Ferrari completely. The other is still trying to catch up.